It is Guanajuato silver. Matthew, if you've got a tough time with that, just G Silver works for us too, and that's our website, gsilver.com. Chen, what I'd like to be able to do is to describe Guanajuato silver and our assets and what we're doing in Mexico in conjunction with a couple of the things that you said earlier at the top of this presentation. Your description of what the Fed's challenges are and what the rest of the central bankers of the world's challenges are. We at Guanajuato Silver share your opinion. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for any kind of significant tapering of stimulus, fiscal and monetary. Therefore, I want to be in the silver and gold mining business, and that's what we are doing in central Mexico. Just as an addendum to that, you mentioned, Chen, creating value for shareholders. And I can tell you that at Guanajuato Silver, that's very much, our intention with everything that we do. The purchase of the El Cubo asset, as you mentioned, that changed hands for $200 million in 2012. We end up paying $15 million for it. And I think that that's a really good start to be able to add value to shareholders, is to purchase an asset with a lot of value early on. So let me go forward from here. I will be making some forward-looking statements. Let's talk about what I'm going to be talking about. So we believe that we're on track to be Mexico's next precious metals producer. Why do we think that? Because we've already started mining. We started mining about 5 weeks ago. We are currently taking that material from the El Cubo mine and putting it into our laydown yard in front of the mill, which I'll show you some pictures of here in a moment. We are on track, on time, and on budget to start putting material, mineralized material, through that mill in the first week of October. Concentrate sales, we anticipate sometime towards the middle or end of October. Projected annual average production. So a lot of people ask me that. The 1.8 million ounces of silver equivalent comes right from our PEA. That's an average over the envisioned 7 years, the first 7 years of production. I can say that we will ramp up to that number next year and go higher than that number. That is what is anticipated in our own internal modeling in 2023. And we get the chance to do that because we are really using the El Cubo mill and 2 mines, El Cubo itself and Pinguico, which is a historical past producer. That was the asset that we had prior to purchasing El Cubo. I'll show you some pictures of that and some of the exploration that we're doing there as well. If anyone doesn't know where Guanajuato is, it's right in central Mexico. It's about 400 kilometers north of Mexico City. This is one of the oldest, most established precious metal camps in North America. The Spanish started mining here within about 60 years of Columbus sailing across the Atlantic. So people have been mining silver and gold here for 480 years. Fresnillo, the world's largest silver mining company, has a very large position in the camp. Endeavor Silver, Great Panther, a number of different mining companies still quite active in this area. So this is El Cubo. This is the asset that we purchased from Endeavor Silver earlier in the year. You can see that it's a very large operation. And indeed, the assets that we purchase for the $15 million are not only the mill and the mine and the resource, but it extends for kilometers out from this main cluster of production assets to warehouses and core shacks, literally kilometers away from what you see here. The pictures that are on this image and some of the pictures in the next couple of slides, these are all pictures that I took with my iPhone about a month ago when I was in Guanajuato. So what you see over on the left-hand side of the screen, one Tuesday morning about a month ago, we had this big giant-sized crane on the back of a big flatbed truck. And what we're doing is we're lifting 2 new cone crushers into our crusher building, which you see here on the right of that image. There's also a primary crusher, which is just outside of the scope of this picture to the left. So we fired that up about 2 weeks ago and ran the primary crusher at about 160 tons per hour. So that's all pre-commissioned, ready to go. We did exactly the same thing with our cone crushers about 2 days ago. So that looks very good. Over in the top right in the mill building, and I'll just take a moment to say, I'm very, very proud of the way that all of the production facilities look right now. They are clean, dry, organized, and ready for production within the next couple of weeks. We have a 700-ton ball mill, a 400-ton ball mill, and a 300-ton ball mill. We will start only running the 700-ton ball mill in the next couple of weeks and add in the other ball mills in November. And from the mining perspective, maybe the most important shot is the one on the right. We started hauling material, mineralized material, vein material, silver and gold bearing material out of the mine about a month ago. The picture that I took here on the right was one of the first haulage trucks that came out of the mine. And we've been, as I mentioned, we've been putting that material in the laydown yard at El Cubo. So that material is all ready to go, and it's pretty good grade. And that we're probably up to about 8,000 or 10,000 tons of material in the laydown yard. So that is ready for us to go as soon as we flip the switch on the mill in the next two weeks or so. One of the things that I do like to emphasize here, we paid $15 million for this asset, and we get so much value for it. The access that you can see on the bottom right image, that's 4 meter by 4 meter access. I took that picture from the front of a pickup truck. You can drive the pickup truck for about 25 minutes into the mine. And if you look at the Vulcan model just above that in purple with all of the purple, and all of that is access. Most of it's 4 meter by 4 meter access. That's probably $100 million worth of development work in the mine. Over on the left-hand side of your screen, you see some of the vein material itself. Because Guanajuato is not only a 480-year-old mining camp, but the city of Guanajuato is a beautiful old city. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's when you're walking in the Old Town area, it's kind of like walking through an old town in Italy or in Spain. And because of that, and several other reasons, but principally because of that, we get to attract all kinds of really, really good Mexican mining talent to our company. We have, as per a news release from a couple of weeks ago, over the last 4 months, we've hired 168 personnel. 167 of them are Mexican nationals. And I think that's a big statement about how we want to run the company and our ability to attract excellent mining talent within Mexico. A great example of that is Pedro Delgado, who's pictured in front of this vein system. Pedro is our mine manager. Pedro worked for Fresnillo for about 25 years in the Guanajuato area. And Pedro worked primarily at their mine called Peregrina, which is really an extension of Cubo. If you follow the main Villalpando vein system to the north, it ends up trending off of our claims and onto Fresnillo claims. And that's where Pedro worked for many, many years. So for him to come and start operating our mine, it's really like him coming home and operating a mine that he worked at and operated for many years for Fresnillo. What you see on this image is a long section of the Villalpando vein structure. There's two principal veins, northwest trending veins at El Cubo. One is Villalpando and one is Dolores. They're separated by about 700 meters or so. We're concentrating for the next 24 months our mining at Villalpando at the 3 stopes that you see here right now. They are all drilled off. All of the red dots that you see are drill holes that Endeavor drilled while they were operating the mine. And all the yellow holes are drill holes that we are currently drilling, primarily infill drilling right now, and primarily for grade control so that we'll have better grade control as we continue to mine these areas. Blasting and active mining is going on at the 1850 stope here. 2175 will come next. We need to do a little bit of development work, driving an adit about 150 meters underneath the Ceballetas stope, and that activity will begin soon as well. One thing that I do want to mention, a lot of people ask, so why would Endeavour give up this asset? When Endeavour purchased this, they wanted to make it into a much larger operation than maybe El Cubo can properly support, which was their notion about why they were happy to spend the amount of money that they spent on it. They then spent about $30 million building the mill that we are currently refurbishing. So they needed, in their minds, that they needed about 45,000 tons a month to make this operation make sense. And what they wanted to do was to mine these relatively narrow but good grade veins in a mechanized and very wide way. So in their computer modeling, what they decided to do was to take about a 2.6 meter minimum vein width through this area. When they do that, they see about 30,000 tons. Now, what we want to do is to mine it more narrowly. And the interesting counterintuitive thing that happens, as soon as we look at this with a minimum vein width of 1.4 meters, all of a sudden a whole bunch of the material goes up above cutoff grade, and the tons light up like Rudolph's red nose in a computer model. So what we see in these areas is about 240,000 tons of material that is drilled off, that's very good grade, and that's readily available. And just before we move on, I will highlight drill hole CAS 50 as kind of the poster child from what I'm talking about. You can mine it over 4 meters and get 194 grams of silver equivalent. And in today's pricing environment, even with the recent declines in gold and silver, that might almost make sense. What we would rather do is to mine 1.4 meters at 470 grams. We take less tons at higher grade. Our costs per ton will go up slightly, but our costs per ounce will be driven down considerably. And we will make very good money mining it in that fashion. Here's Pedro again in front of one of the extensions of the Villalpando vein, which I just love this shot. You can see the brecciation here and a lot of the mineralization. This is an asset that's been mined on and off, but mostly on for 200 years. So long as we don't mine it too quickly, there will be years and what we think internally decades of mining at this asset. So our PEA discusses a 7-year mine life and about 7 million ounces of silver equivalent in indicated resources, 20 million ounces in inferred. I do want to talk about our management team. Hopefully I've got enough time to do that. 1 month to production, and really it's only a matter of weeks. Our major shareholders, if you're thinking about investing in our company, often nice to see who's investing alongside you, other than Chen Lin, of course. Endeavour Silver is our largest shareholder by virtue of the fact that they took some shares back in partial payment of us purchasing Cubo. Mermacan Capital is a Connecticut-based precious metals fund. Dan Oliver is the fund manager and is also on our board of directors. G Silver directors and advisors, including myself, also own a great deal of the company, as does Eric Sprott, who came in on the last placement. We've got about $9 million Canadian in cash as of the last day of the last month. We had a pretty good run. We've pulled back with the rest of the market. I suspect that as we start putting material through the mill and getting some revenue, that will change fairly dramatically. You can see some of the numbers from our PEA. We are very happy about what they suggest can be operating costs per silver equivalent ounce, an IRR derived from the PEA as well. So not only, again, did we buy the mine, the mill, the resource, we've also purchased 7,000 hectares of prospective mining claims in one of North America's oldest mining camps. I'm going to talk just briefly about Pinguico. It has a storied history all of itself. This is our other project, only 8 kilometers away from Cubo. So material that we have already and material that we are exploring at Pinguico can very quickly be sent through the mill at Cubo. It was once upon a time an asset that was listed on the New York Stock Exchange about 110 years ago. It was the highest grade mine in the Guanajuato area at that time. So, we think that exploration in this area can benefit us tremendously. And that exploration is ongoing. We're currently drilling drill hole 19 of the season. We purchased our own drill rig. All of the red drill holes are ones that we've drilled already. It's a little hit and miss right now because there has not been a historic drill program, but some of the grades here that approach 900 grams of silver equivalent are very exciting. I think once we get a better handle on where those high-grade shoots exist and how they exist geologically in this epithermal system, we'll be able to target that better. All of the blue holes will be drilled, we think, prior to January next year. And then we can decide about whether we put together a resource here, sooner or later. There's a bigger, more blue sky target at depth where the major system that controls mineralization through this whole area is called Veta Madre. Mining has taken out about 2 billion ounces of silver over the centuries. From there, it extends onto the Pinguico property at depth. What we need to do in the months ahead is to drill and test what happens where the Pinguico system and Veta Madre come into contact with one another, which we believe is a very exciting drill target. I could talk about all of the people who, the team that we've put together in a short period of time is outstanding, but we are running out of time. I'm simply going to talk about Hernan Dorado, who's our Chief Operating Officer. He's worked all over the world, in Canada, in Australia, but he's gone home to Guanajuato. Hernan is a graduate of the University of Guanajuato, mining engineer, and he is really the life and soul of our company in Guanajuato currently. And Ramon Davila. Ramon, in my estimation, has one of the best CVs in Mexican mining. He was the Chief Operating Officer and on the board of directors of First Majestic from when they had 4 employees to when they had 4,000 employees, from 0 production to 12 million ounces of silver production per year. Ramon, and then he went on to a political career where he was the economy minister for the state of Durango for 4 years. Ramon is a giant in our industry in Mexico. We are very, very happy to have him on our board of directors. And more, Ramon is getting involved in the day-to-day activities of the company. When I was there a month ago, Ramon was in Guanajuato for 4 days. He went underground, looked at everything that we were doing from a mining perspective, from a processing perspective. Having that kind of experience on our company is invaluable.